Starting to get down to the wire for Shohei Ohtani. Where's he going to sign? We've got some updates on that, and the Cubs being linked to Tyler Glasnow. Could a trade be in the works between the Cubs and Tampa Bay? Before we do anything else, though, we want you guys, you free agents, to be part of the Cubs baseball channel. Like and subscribe. If you're a Cubs fan and you enjoy Cubs content, make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit the bell so you know when we're dropping new content. What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Cubs baseball channel. I'm Mick Gillispie at Broadcaster Mick on Twitter, and it's going to be really exciting to see what's going on right now as we talk Cubs baseball on the show today. So the first thing, and we're going to get into it right off the bat, is the latest on Shohei Ohtani. Everyone wanted a piece of the Japanese Babe Ruth, right? And we know he can't pitch this year. He was injured last season with the Angels, and they're saying he's going to be out for a year. His contract could go between $500 and $600 million. But we talked about how a lot of that's going to come back in marketing and merchandise, and the fact that you will get one of the faces, if not the face of baseball right now in the entire globe, the entire world, not just in the United States, just not in MLB. So it's down to 4 teams from what the reports are telling us. First off, the Toronto Blue Jays. I just can't imagine a scenario where he comes out and puts a Blue Jays hat on in a press conference. Are the Blue Jays an up-and-coming franchise? Do they have some good young players? Yes and yes. Did they make the playoffs last year? Yes. But I just don't see it happening. That to me seems very far-fetched. So that leaves it with 3 teams. The 2 LA teams, the LA Angels, his former team, which is still in the mix, and they basically give him half of the franchise to come back, and the Dodgers, who are one of baseball's royalties, one of the biggest franchises in the game. And it felt like the Dodgers were really shedding payroll, including former Cub Cody Bellinger, to get to the point where they could sign Shohei Ohtani in the offseason. He already lives in LA, and now you just move him from one team to another. One team that's kind of a mid-market, low-level team to one of the big franchises in baseball. You put him in there with Mookie Betts. The Dodgers make the playoffs every year. They're always around 100 wins. They won the World Series in 2020. They're contenders every season, and it would be an easy fit. The other team, of course, is the Cubs. What would it look like for Shohei Ohtani to join the Cubs? It would be enormous. And I think that he sees that. Cubs fans are the best fans. I mean, look at the way that they embraced Cody Bellinger. We did a video yesterday on Andre the Hawk Dawson. He was one of my favorite players as a youth. And the way that when he came from Montreal to the Cubs, he absolutely became a fan favorite, and he's been beloved ever since. He won the MVP, and that wasn't even on a good team. So think about Ohtani. Bring him in to with what's going on right now, the combination of the Cubs and Ohtani's brand would be enormous. And on top of that, he's going to be on a team that is striving to win again. I think that owner Tom Ricketts is ready for this franchise to be back on top. He's one of the best owners in baseball after the experience that I'm sure Ohtani had with Anaheim. He'd love to be with one of baseball's easiest owners to deal with. Honestly, I consider him a friend. I think he's one of the best guys that I've met around the game. And I think that the players like dealing with him. He's very hands-off. He just gives you the resources that you need. And I think that that's going to be something that will play into this. I think Jed Hoyer is a great GM. He's president now, but he was with Epstein when the Cubs won the World Series. He was in Boston there as well. He knows what it takes. And then going out and bringing in Craig Counsell. Some of you guys are going to go, what's it matter if you bring in a manager or not? It basically sets the tone that this team and this franchise are ready to take the next step. If they could get Ohtani, it's almost like a John Lester moment over again where they're like, hey, we're going after the best that's out there, and then you start to build around that. And can you imagine him as your left-handed bat in the lineup? I would love to see it. So Dodgers and Cubs to me, 1 and 2, and then I think the Angels are a drop-off, and then I think the Blue Jays are trying to hold on for a prayer. I'm expecting, and I think a lot of you guys are as well, and baseball in general agrees with me, that Ohtani will announce his intentions sometime between now and next week. Baseball winter meetings. And the Cubs baseball channel, I will be in Nashville for baseball winter meetings next week. Hopefully we'll have something to talk about with Ohtani. But like the Cubs, I'm all in. I would love to see it. I just think that it would be fantastic. I don't think that the Cubs would shut down what they're trying to do just because they got Ohtani. I think this is the beginning and not the end. So we'll see what happens. But it is very encouraging that the Cubs are still in the mix right now, deep in the process, and you're starting to see other teams fall off. The Mariners, you're not hearing as much about the Giants anymore. So Cubs are in there for Shohei Ohtani. The other name that we keep hearing is Tampa's Tyler Glasnow. The Rays owe him $25 million or somewhere in that neighborhood. They don't have $25 million to pay him. So that means they're going to have to trade him. And are the Cubs willing to divvy up the prospects to get him? Well, the Rays are a smart organization. That's the only reason that despite the fact that they can't get fans to show up to their playoff games, and they're almost like a 4A minor league team, kind of in between the majors and the minors, they'd be relegated due to fan interest if they were over in Europe playing soccer, right? Not because of their success on the field, but people just have no interest in this team, but they continue to be a contender. And the reason why is that they know what you have in your farm system, and they make trades for guys like Tyler Glasnow. And they realize that the Cubs are stacked, and they've got scouts that have watched the Cubs and know that they can get some pretty good players and shed this payroll all in one fair swoop. I talked about it before. The Cubs made a trade with them for Matt Garza years ago. They gave up Chris Archer, Sam Fold. They gave up Brandon Geyer, and I think somebody else might have been in that trade as well. And in the long term, it was not a good deal for the Cubs. But that's what the Rays do, but it's not that Garza showed up and didn't perform. It's just that they went and plucked some of the best pitching and players that the Cubs had in their system, and all of those guys went on to successful careers. So we'll see what happens, but it is interesting. Guys like Bruce Levine talking about it, John Morosi saying that this could happen. The Cubs have to replace Marcus Stroman in the rotation. And I know a lot of you felt like on this channel, and you told me in the message boards consistently, that you were glad Stroman left. And I'm not disagreeing that Stroman had his issues. But the first half of the season, the guy was an all-star. Now, when the Cubs played their best baseball, he was hurt. And then he had the strange cracked rib cartilage injury, which still has a lot of us scratching our heads. And then he opted out of a $21 million contract. The thing for him, which is probably smart, is that when you start looking at what's available out there in pitching, there's not much there. And even though he's a guy that gets hurt a lot too, just like Glasnow, just like Bieber, a guy that we talked about yesterday with Cleveland, he's, I don't know, maybe the 7th or 8th best starter out there, which means that he's going to get a multi-year deal and get paid. So it probably turned out pretty good for him. So we'll see what happens. We're keeping an eye on this. And if something does break, we'll be on here to give you all of the details. But that's the latest news right now. Cubs are still firmly in the mix for Ohtani. If they don't get Ohtani, I'm guessing that they pivot quickly and then start looking at Cody Bellinger, who all of a sudden now is cooling off a little bit with teams like the Yankees, who, according to reports, didn't like his hard hit rate, which to me is such an analytic guy's stat, right? The hard hit rate. Well, to me, I think the bottom line is the bottom line. I don't need a rate of hard hit. What if all your hard hits are right at the shortstop or the second baseman? You guys saw Cody Bellinger play this year, but apparently he had one of the worst hard hit rates in the game, and he wants a lot of years and a lot of money. And the Yankees are like, you know what? I don't know. That's a red flag for us. And they're trying to get a deal done for Juan Soto from the Padres. And apparently that's moving on pretty quickly. The Padres started to kind of send out reports that they wanted some starting pitching in that trade. And I think that's when the Cubs kind of veered away, as I think the centerpiece of a deal from the Cubs could really circle around Christopher Morel, who doesn't really have a position for say right now, but did hit 26 home runs for the Cubs last year. And he brings a bolt of energy every time he plays. Hey, guys, thanks for hanging out with us. One thing that I do want to say with the holidays coming, and I know that you guys come from many different areas and practice different religions and holidays, but no matter what that is, if it's gift giving, I want to recommend the Smokies baseball team store. This is the Cubs AA affiliate, the Tennessee Smokies. And right now, you can check out their store and pick up some great swag. They just won their first championship in 45 years. It took them 45 years. They had, in 1978, they had just won their second championship in 4 years, and then it took them 45 years to win their next one. But the Smokies team store has Cubs gear. They've got Smokies gear. They've got all kind of really cool stuff for the Cubs fan. So check it out for yourself, and we'll catch up with you guys tomorrow. Thank you.